This is a video I owe you for already over 1.5 years, or probably even 2. And it's here, a cleaning guide for kimono. I really hate my hair today, by the way. I will hate this video just because of this hairstyle. In case you're here for the first time, my name is Matsunaga and I'm a fully trained and certified kimono teacher and stylist. I hope this video is not all over the place because my husband was working from home this week and that kept me distracted for a while and I could not write a proper script for this video, but it's hopefully gonna be fine with the magic of editing. I'm not sure if this video will be exactly what you're looking for, but I hope it gives you some tips and tricks of how to maintain your kimono properly and gives you some do's and don'ts for kimono cleaning / washing. So let's jump right into the topic. First of all, I want to distinguish between washing and cleaning. Washing for me means you want to wash your kimono with water because it got sweaty. Not specifically because there is a stain, it's just like washing all your t-shirts you wore once or twice and they didn't get stained, but because they smell or so whatever, you want to wash it with water. That's washing for me. Cleaning means for me stain removal. So there is a stain on your t-shirt, kimono, whatsoever, and you want to remove that specific stain. Stain removal is for me cleaning. When we talk about can you wash or clean a kimono, that has way too many factors, so yes and no. And this video gonna break down what kind of kimono you can wash and also can wash at home, and what kind of kimono you probably shouldn't wash or clean only in a specific way, or probably leave to a professional. In Japan, there are professional kimono cleaners, and there are of course also, let's call it normal cleaner stores, and some of them, not all of them, do also provide a kimono cleaning service. When you go to a kimono cleaner store and you would give your kimono there, they would, according to how you want to have your kimono cleaned, they would send it off to another professional. I think that's one of those reasons why it's actually quite expensive to have a kimono cleaned. There are basically 2 ways to have a kimono professional clean in Japan. One of them is called maruarai, which is a very modern way to clean kimono. They just put the kimono as it is, as a whole, in water and clean it. We're not talking about if I approve this or not, okay? Because I've actually seen quite a lot kimono that actually got destroyed by exactly doing that. So I never did it for a kimono. I gave some of my nagajuban into maruarai to have them cleaned because nagajuban usually get the most sweaty. The safest way to clean a kimono is actually a so-called araihari. Araihari means unpicking all the seams of a kimono, put it back into the shape of a kimono bolt, and that bolt is then cleaned and later re-sewed into a kimono. I hope one day I will be able to make a video about it. I'm still doing some research with old books because in history that was actually done at home. People actually clean their kimono at home, which usually requires the skill of cleaning the kimono properly as well as resewing the kimono properly. I hope there will be a tutorial about this one day on my channel. Keep looking out for it. And of course there is also only shiminuki, stain removal, for cleaning a kimono, which means they won't do araihari or maruarai. They will just remove specific stains on the kimono. Also, when you give your kimono into araihari or maruarai, they're gonna ask you if you want to have shiminuki, stain removal, as well. Stain removal means they're really gonna bleach that specific stain. So they also can deal with very old stains, by the way. When you buy a lot of vintage kimono, you might know that there are sometimes these yellowish, brownish very old stains on a kimono you can't remove, they're gonna bleach the whole thing. They're gonna bleach the fiber, and then they're gonna repaint the pattern onto it so it won't be that visible anymore. And that is, again, an art for itself. So if you are experienced in painting clothing, or you know how to dye fabric, you could try it. I won't, because I'm not brave enough to ever try this, and I have a professional in my area who takes care of that. But usually when I buy a vintage kimono, stains do not bother me that much, and if they do, I would not buy that kimono. Of course, specific stains can be cleaned at home, and we're gonna jump onto cleaning Billy, and she's gonna show you how to. And so we meet. Hello. When we talk about stains, the problem with stains is that it is a really complicated topic. There are, roughly said, two kinds of stains. One is on an oily basis and one is on a water basis. So when you have a water basis stain, which is usually sweat, by the way, also water basis stain, and I learned that mold is also thought to be a water basis stain. You can only get those stains out with water. An oil-based stain is makeup or everything food that had oil in it is an oil-based stain. You need something that eats up the oil, so actually the stain comes out of the fiber. And for this, I highly recommend washing benzene. In Japan, you get this at the pharmacy. I heard that you can get it abroad as well. I highly recommend having something like this at home when you wear kimono a lot. So I'm gonna use this today for cleaning this nagajuban here. I had this professionally cleaned, I think 2 years ago. I give this into the so-called maruarai, and which means this is quite recent dirt. So it's not like decayed old dirt. It is probably 2-year-old dirt. You could use this with a piece of cloth. Other people say you should rather use a brush. I'm gonna use both. I'm gonna use a toothbrush here because I don't want to use too many items you can't get abroad. So a toothbrush will do. It will do. Okay. And be sure to use as much as you can. It looks way better. It looks really good, I think, but I probably won't be able to get out all of it. It was already a little bit too old and probably a little bit too much. You should do this earlier. So give me a few more minutes with this and I'm gonna check in later. So I ran out of benzene, and you know, probably a professional would have told me to use a different nagajuban that is not that badly stained, because it's gonna be more wow in the end. So this is how it looks now. It's definitely better than it was before, definitely. But there's still some yellow. And I actually wanted to show you the super clean without any yellow. But you know what? This is real life, guys. I'm not lying to you. Benzene helps with not too old stains. The sooner you work with it, the better. When you find something, when you spill something on your kimono, on your silk kimono, when you go back home, this is what you use right away. It's awesome, honestly. It saved a lot of my kimonos so far. It's definitely a lifesaver, and every
kimono enthusiasts should have this at home. You can use this on 100% silk. I think it's okay. I think it doesn't look too bad. Could have been more perfect.
And now the question is, can you actually wash a kimono with water? And the answer again is yes and no. It depends on the fiber. You can wash polyester kimono, you can wash linen/hemp kimono, you can wash cotton kimono. I would never wash silk and wool. I already see the comments under this video going crazy about yes, you can wash silk and how to wash silk. I give you the reasons why you should not wash silk. I'm not talking about normal clothing, have no idea about that. Especially when you talk about kimono, you should not wash silk kimono. The first reason why you should not wash a silk kimono is that the dye will run. Sometimes extremely, sometimes not that bad, but usually it will. So when you wash a kimono that has a different pattern on it with a lot of different colors, the darker color will bleed into the pattern. And when you might think, okay, yes, then let's just wash irumuji, just kimono that only have one color. Bleeding or running dye means it will fade, and the problem with silk is it won't fade like evenly, it will fade very spotted and patchy, and it's not gonna look good anymore. The second reason why you should not wash silk is the shrinkage. And yes, silk shrinks, and not evenly. Sometimes it shrinks a lot, and sometimes you're lucky and it didn't really shrink at all. But the problem actually is when you have a lined kimono, an awase kimono that has 2 layers of silk, usually, and that's what I've seen most of the times, those layers do shrink unevenly. And the absolutely worst case is, for example, that the outer layer didn't shrink that much and the inner lining shrank like crazy. And now you have like super weird tension at some seams or super weird wrinkles, and it's became very bulky, and that kimono is unwearable. Last but not least, why you shouldn't really try to clean silk with water. Let me give you a little anecdote. How many years did I go? Like 3 years ago, we've been eating in the city, and the waiter spilled some water, and he was quite a few meters away actually, but there were some tiny drops spilling onto my kimono, and I went mad. And he was looking at me going like, lady, calm down, it's just water. No, it's not for silk, because silk, when it's not getting wet all over, when it just gets wet at some spots, not always, but that spot will become a water spot. That is why it is so devastating when you walk outside and it suddenly starts raining and you forgot your raincoat. Water stains are the worst. You might think water is good, water is not good. When we talk specifically about silk kimono, you have to get rid of the idea that washing is the only way to get rid of sweat and smell. It's not. And think about it. Of course, today we have washing machines and those do all the hard work for us, but actually washing your clothing was quite some work in the past, and it was not done on such a regular basis. You should never forget that a kimono won't be that sweaty because you're usually layering up. When you wear kimono, your first layer is a so-called hadaki, or it's also called hadajupan. That is usually, or in my case, it's always made of cotton. It's just white, plain cotton that I can wash. That's a layer that soaks up the most sweat, and that is something I wash after wearing it. Over that, I wear a so-called hosegi, which is my padding wear. And I know there are a lot of people against padding and think they would sweat more when wearing padding. I actually do enjoy having one more layer on my hadaki that soaks up all the sweat and that I can wash. Over that, you wear your first layer of silk. That would be your nagajupan. And yes, that usually gets a little moist. And I have them cleaned every few years because they usually get a little dirty. And over that, you wear your kimono. And when it's a lined kimono, you still have lining and outer layer, which means usually your lining gets a little more sweat than your outer layer. And the inner lining can be changed. Long story short, it's enough when you take off your kimono, put it onto a kimono hanger and hang it into the shade, very important shade, with good ventilation for a day, or sometimes even two, or sometimes even longer when you're too lazy to put the kimono away. That happens quite often, by the way, but that's actually enough. That's what I do with all my kimono, and you see they are all in perfect condition. And while it's getting already super dark in here again because super cloudy day, I think Cleaning really wants to show you how to wash your cotton, linen/hemp or polyester kimono. Let's give her some minutes to show you that. Well, hello. Hello again. This is Cleaning Billy. So I want to show you how I usually wash all my summer kimono. Once summer is over, I usually wash through all summer kimono that I can wash. They are polyester, cotton are usually all my yukata, and linen/hemp. And you can of course also wash your lined polyester kimono like this. Absolutely no problem. This is how my very first kimono teacher, who was also my host mother, showed me how to wash my kimono, and I have never changed that. There of course might be a better way to clean this, but you know, when you once get told or taught how to do it by a professional, you rather keep that. So this one I'm gonna wash today is a yukata. The fabric is a mixture of linen and cotton, so it's something you can wash at home. First of all, usually before I bring it here, I check it for stains. I might have found one here. This one really looks like a stain to me. I take a thread and needle, and I'm gonna mark this out. So I marked it out like this, and when you mark it out like this, it's called itoshirushi, by the way, in Japanese, this way to mark it out. It's easier to find the stain later, even when the kimono got wet. It's extremely hard to find those eventual stains as soon as the kimono gets wet, believe me. The kimono or yukata is still folded as you usually would store it. And then, this is actually my husband's trick, and don't tell him that I'm actually using his stuff. It's called eri, which is collar, and sode, which means sleeves. And it's exactly for, as you can see on the picture, to clean the collar and to clean the sleeve opening, which gets usually quite yellow very easily, especially also for shirts. I'm usually search for the collar, and I put a little bit of this onto the collar. When you have a lighter colored kimono, you will already see where it started to turn actually yellow-ish. And I'm gonna put a little bit of this on the inside of the sleeve opening, because that usually gets really yellow. Okay. And what I then do is just water. Be aware when you wash cotton kimono that you use cold water for it, because when you wash cotton with warm water,
this will open up the fiber and then the color runs out, which means when you wash cotton with warm water, the color will fade more easily. It's also not good for the fabric, so I really do recommend washing it with cold water. So I want to let this sit for about 10 minutes. Not too long, because there might be some shrinkage and you want to avoid any shrinkage, so don't let it sit for too long. And before I'm gonna let it sit, we're gonna get rid of the stain, and I'm using this laundry soap for this. I'm probably gonna put a link down below so you can check out what it is, as when you can read Japanese. A lot of Japanese people who are into kimono actually use this, so I can only recommend. I open up the kimono very carefully because I actually want to keep the shape. So when you have the stain in a very weird place, it's sometimes really hard to clean. And I'm looking for my marking. Actually, you shouldn't rub to clean something. Rubbing is one of the worst thing you could actually do, but in this case I'm just trying to be very, very carefully. If your sleeve opening and your collar is already super yellow and dirty, I also do recommend this soap to use it on it. It will get rid of most of the stains. I will not say it's 100% safe. I have already destroyed one of my very favorite yukata with exactly this method. So be aware, as soon you're washing any of your kimono items, there can always go something wrong, and you should be very careful. Mistakes are actually the easiest way to learn. And yes, I've already did a lot of mistakes when washing kimono, so whatever you do, be really careful. Okay, so this looks already pretty good, so I'm gonna let out the water. And we're gonna put new water in.
To wash your kimono this way is called oshi arai. Oshi means push, and you keep pushing the kimono in the water. Once you drain the water, you put new water into it and repeat the step until you've rinsed out all the washing detergent.
We are very lucky with this kimono, because be aware that sometimes when you wash a kimono, there will still be a little bit of color coming out and suddenly the water will be light blue. And when you have like a blue kimono with a white pattern and the water is light blue, you kind of start to be afraid that probably your white pattern won't be white in the end anymore. It will be. It's gonna be fine. Just keep on washing. This is how clear the water has to be before you move on to the next step. For the next step, you have two options. One is just hang this now up on a kimono hanger as it is. Which, I mean, who has the space to hang up a soaked wet kimono somewhere. So what I do is I put it in a laundry net and I spin it in the washing machine, which is of course not best practice. And could I actually just put the yukata in my washing machine from the beginning and have it washed there? Yes, you can if you want to. You don't have to do all of this. I don't know why, it just feels better for me to wash all my kimono like this, and then having them spinned in the washing machine actually only helps me for hanging them up somewhere, so I actually can then hang up inside. If you would have a nicer balcony, I would hang it on the balcony as it is, especially when it still would be summer, which it's not. So I'm gonna put this in the washing machine.
And you hang the kimono on a kimono hanger overnight. On the next day, I iron the yukata or kimono. To iron an unlined cotton yukata or any unlined kimono, I recommend to put the iron on the hottest setting without steam. And use a piece of cotton fabric between kimono and iron. I always start at the collar and move on to the sleeve. You might sometimes want to pull the kimono away from the iron to regain some centimeter that might have shrunk. After that, you iron each panel of the kimono individually. And when you finish that, you can fold it and put it back into your storage. Ironing a lined kimono is a little trickier. You need something heavy, and I'm using a bunch of books. And by the way, yes, you can iron silk, just like I am doing it here. Lay the part with the wrinkle onto the ironing board and place the books on top of it. The iron again is on the hottest setting without steam. Lay a new piece of cotton onto the kimono. And make sure not to create any new wrinkles into the kimono with the books. And then you start ironing the kimono slowly. With your free hand, you pull the fabric away from the iron to smoothen out the wrinkles. And voila! Yes, that's how you can get rid of any wrinkles in your kimono. Please do not iron any kimonos that have gold on it. That's a big no. But besides that, go ahead and iron them. I really hope you liked this video and found it a little helpful, at least. It's just me talking about my experience with kimono, and as a kimono teacher, learning about kimono stains or different stains and different cleaning methods is actually what is part of an exam for a kimono teacher, because when you have students, you have to give them advice on how to clean your kimono, or you have to give them advice on what to tell the cleaner store. So if you have any more questions, feel free to ask me down below. I will try my best to answer them, or send me messages on Instagram. That is probably the easiest to get an answer from me. If you like this video, please give me a thumb up and share this video, because that will really help me a lot to get more viewers and more people knowing more about how to maintain their kimono properly. And yeah, I talk to you in my next video. Bye!